What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own team selection for the upcoming Game Week 1. So you guys heard that right, it is finally time for the team selection, and that means that Game Week 1 deadline is just around the corner. Just a reminder, it's going to be on Friday evening, not the usual Saturday. Now a helpful tip for you guys is just to put notifications on for my channel, as I will be going live at least 1 hour before the deadline for the usual Deadline with Dayvy live stream. I'll be suited up as it is deadline day, so you guys can come and pop in and ask your questions. So hopefully I see you guys over there. But getting back to this video, my team selection, a return of the weekly series that I'll be doing game weekly. This is basically my final team selection, or at least my final draft, and I won't lie, I think I'm pretty happy with it. Now full disclosure, I'm actually having to record this before the Spurs vs PSG game. It just sounds mad talking about why are Spurs even playing PSG, but that's in the UEFA Super Cup coming up later on Wednesday night. Now unfortunately, due to my kind of work schedule and a full-time job, I'm having to record and edit these overnight, but if anything pops up out of that game or in the next few days, I'll probably make a video Friday morning. So if you guys want to see my team selection as well as my chip strategy right at the end of the video, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So getting on to the actual team selection, before we go over the players, I want to give a plug once again. If you guys do want to become a member of my YouTube channel, the Dayvy FPL community is quite a nice one to be in. Now I have had a few questions. Yes, I will be going over my live transfers with the Legend members. That's something I've done for the past few seasons. Now I won't be gatekeeping that information, so don't worry if you guys aren't a member. I'm not going to purposefully not tell you what transfers I make when I do my videos. I just will only say when I do it in that moment, and that's going to be on my Discord server. So the Discord is perfectly free if you guys do want to join it. There only are a few paid membership channels, but there's a link in the description if you guys do want to join it, and you can always ask me questions over there. Thanks once again to all the members that have signed up for years and are new members. You guys are all legends, literally. Now getting back to this team selection, and as you guys can see, that perfect 0.0 in the bank, I'm not being safe here and leaving 0.5. Haven't seen too many drafts that actually have done that, as the prices are pretty good this Premier League season. Now I'm going to go over this in true team selection fashion, from the bench all the way to the forwards. And the bench this week looks pretty cheap, so definitely not going to be a bench boost. Now Dubravka, the 4.0 goalkeeper of choice, yet to be seen if he's actually fit to play for Burnley. But even if he misses a few game weeks, I definitely want to go for him, as he's probably the only playing 4.0. Now I'm not going to talk about Richards too much at 4.5 because I've spoken about him enough, has good DEFCON threat, and Crystal Palace do have some good fixtures coming up. But I'll talk about him a little bit later on, as well as alternatives when I go over my full defense. Mark Gaya is going to be the 4.5, but he hasn't even been in the Sunderland squad, so he could be dropping in price fairly soon. But at 4.5, not too much risk there. Then finally, Esteve seems like the 4.0 of choice, just signed a new contract for Burnley in the transfer window. Not expecting too much from him, but he has some good fixtures where I might be playing him. But almost the cheapest bench that you guys can afford. I would recommend having at least one playing option though, and that's Richards for me. Otherwise, Esteve can back him up. Now my goalkeeper between the sticks has actually changed from Sanchez to Sels. Almost a like-for-like switch, both these options. It's such a 50-50. I did have an open spot for Nottingham Forest defender though, and therefore I'm pretty comfortable with Sels. Now I'm not saying that Sanchez is a bad option, as mentioned, it's really a 50-50 between them. I just like the look of Sels more, and I had an open spot. Now we're definitely still going to go for the main man, Murillo. I do call him the DEFCON king because his stats are great. And you might have noticed, yes, he is my most expensive defender at 5.5. So a little bit of a shake-up has actually happened in our defensive department, and I've done some downgrades. But I feel like Murillo is going to be great value and probably a more long-term hold. That's basically what you guys have to do with these DEFCON threat players, is you almost have to play them every single week. And their average amount of points is going to be quite consistent, so hopefully Murillo does the goods. Now Murillo might actually be dethroned by a certain, maybe even bigger king, and that's Tarkowski. He had some of the best DEFCON threat in the Premier League. Not only last season, he's done it in back-to-back seasons. If you guys want to check that video out, I did an entire review of the defenders earlier. And Murillo and Tarkowski, when adding DEFCON bonus points, had the best averages of all the defenders. So we've gone full defensive contribution mode in terms of our defense, and I really like this combination at 5.5 for each of them. So you might be wondering what's happened to Virgil or even going for a Gabriel from Arsenal. Well, I actually think Murillo and Tarkowski could provide better value than them. So I'm going to take the punt and back the research I've done on those DEFCON contributions. Now, as mentioned with Murillo, these two will be more kind of long-term holds. I can't see myself taking them out unless they get injured. And that leaves the last defender spot to be a bit more adventurous. So I won't lie to you guys, I've been ignoring the Spurs defense, but the models really do love him, and that's what made me think twice. I reconsidered, and now Pedro Porro is in at 5.5. Now this could also be Munoz. I like the both of them. I just feel like that Burnley fixture in Game Week 1. You guys saw the clean sheet odds in the Ultimate Guide yesterday. Not too shabby at all. Now what could actually happen here at 5.5, maybe we go for Pedro Porro for the next few weeks, and then we change him to Munoz, as those Crystal Palace fixtures do improve from Game Week 4 onwards. Never great to kind of bang transfers in, but that's why I'm being a little bit more open-minded. Don't necessarily have to do it if you guys don't want to. Now let's kind of talk a little bit more about Richards though at 4.5. I mentioned I'm going to talk about him a bit more when we go over our kind of review. And I am second guessing Richards as there are players that have better fixtures in the weeks I need him. I can't believe I'm saying this, but yes, after saying that Konze is a bad pick, Aston Villa actually have the best fixtures in the game weeks I need them. And that's when Forest, Everton or Spurs either play Liverpool or Man City. So even though there could be massive DEFCON threat there, I would prefer going for a better fixture. So in terms of the 4.5, Aston Villa and Konza have strong fixtures in Game Week 4, 5 and I think 7 and 8. Also looked at Anderson from Fulham, but I think that Aston Villa have the best fixtures. I do prefer Richards though from a DEFCON threat point of view, and that's why I still selected him. But don't be surprised, and if you guys do want to go for an alternative, that's also 100% fine. I've kind of laid out 3 options that you guys can look at. Now this back line to me actually looks pretty strong. I know it's going to be quite expensive. Most people have sort of a rotation pair of 4.5s, but I feel like Murillo and Tarkowski will pay me back, and then Pedro Porro is a more exciting pick. I generally think in terms of the goalkeepers for me, it was Sanchez or Sells. I don't like any of the 4.5s, but that could be a place that you guys save money if you need it. Now you might need those funds because the midfields are generally stacked. Mo Salah, our captain at 14.5 million. The Community Shield game didn't scare me off, and I'm still going to go for the GOAT of FPL. Now we will go over the fixtures later on, but Bournemouth at home, you guys saw in terms of the projected points, he's the highest projected point scorer, and I feel like Liverpool will get off to a good start, and it is at Anfield. I'm going to go boring with my second premium, Cole Palmer. You guys saw the ownership, he's the highest owned player in the game at the moment. I feel like Chelsea will get off to a good start with some good fixtures, but I think it might be close between Palmer, Haaland and Saka. I have had Cole Palmer though in most of my drafts, so I'm going to stick with him again, and let's see if he can become the main talisman for Chelsea. Unfortunately, with my third pick, Bruno Fernandes, I do kind of feel like the talisman is going to drop slightly as he might be playing a more defensive position. As you guys have seen, United basically have a new striking department. So how do you fit Sesko, Mbeumo, Cunha and Bruno all in the same team? Well, it's probably Bruno taking a deeper role. Now in terms of DEFCON threat, that could be advantageous, but for assisting and kind of goal threat, I think it will go down. And that's the only debate I'm going through between him and Florian Wirtz. I still feel like Bruno though offers so much kind of points potential, whether it be defensive or offensive, and on penalties is always a little nice added bonus. So it might be slightly boring, but I'm going to go for the more nailed player, the player that has featured in the Premier League the past couple seasons. But I completely understand if you guys want to take a punt on Florian Wirtz, might not even be a punt as he's so good. As a Liverpool fan, it is going to be terrible watching us play and attack so well, especially if Wirtz is going to be in the points. Now those first 3 midfielders I'm pretty sure you guys are happy with. They might be template if I say so myself, but the next 2 might be slightly up there. My 4th midfielder is going to be Reinders. So yes, a massive budget drop off from Salah, Palmer and Bruno to Reinders, but I just feel like this is a pure value play. Any Man City offensive player that comes in at 5.5 and if they can become nailed, that's just FPL gold any day of the week. Now with injuries to other Man City midfielders and the fact that they're actually selling quite a few options, I do feel like Reinders should be fine for the start of the season. Now if he can perform well and kind of locks himself into that Pep Guardiola lineup, at 5.5 there's not much more I can ask for. Now this is more of an exciting punt. I know it's very cheap, but it's still going to be exciting and does free up a lot of funds in my other departments. Now you guys might love or hate this, but I also do have another 5.5 and that's Anderson from Nottingham Forest. I'm going to call him my DEFCON midfield king. So you guys will notice a common thread here. I am actually buying into the fact that these defensive contributions will be an added bonus. Whether they're overrated or underrated, I guess we'll see in the opening few games. I do feel like Anderson, like Reinders, could be a nice little budget player with some good averages and seems pretty nailed in that Forest lineup. So I've seen a lot of talk over on Twitter about should you go for Reinders or Anderson. I've said you should go for both. Let's see how it kind of plays out in the opening few games. Now in terms of our forward department, it's going to be pretty kind of template or kind of predictable. Ollie Watkins, even if he doesn't perform well, at 9.0 the price point is where the flexibility lies. And I feel like Aston Villa and Ollie Watkins have been off to a good start in pre-season. Now if you guys need to save some funds, I do think the striker department's probably where you can find that money. And there's a ton of 7.5s that everyone's going for. Now if I had to decide between kind of going for Ollie Watkins or Florian Wirtz, it's just the fact that there's not really other forwards that I do like the look of that's leading me towards keeping Ollie Watkins. If you guys can recommend a real budget forward that you like the look of, drop it in the comments down below, but I haven't seen many in terms of my own research. But once again, if you guys have done the math, don't really know why you would have, but you would have noticed I have 7.5 left for my final striker, and that's going to be Dom Solanke from Spurs. Now as mentioned early on, I am recording before the PSG game is going to be upcoming, but Thomas Frank said that he's available for selection, so I feel like he should get some minutes. Maybe best case scenario is getting about 30 minutes tonight and then starting against Burnley. But if I don't feel confident with Dom Solanke, there are a bunch of other 7.5s. João Pedro, for example, the second highest owned player in the game at the moment, absolutely insane. Or someone like a Mateta, as he should be on penalties now. So either of those two could come in for Dom Solanke if I'm not confident, but like Pedro Porro, I really do like that Burnley fixture. But he needs to get the majority of minutes to actually get the points. That's kind of how it works. But once again, nice little price structure for flexibility at 7.5, can downgrade him, upgrade him if we find the funds. And I do feel like Spurs should put a few past Burnley in game week 1. So that's going to kind of be our team structure. The only thing I don't really like about it is probably those two 5.5s that don't give me that maximum flexibility to maybe upgrade them, but maybe I don't have to take them out if they're performing well. Otherwise, that defense does make me quite excited. Those DEFCON Kings plus the attacking threat of Pedro Porro. I'm pretty happy with this draft and it hasn't changed much over the past day. But you guys can rip it to shreds if you think it's absolutely trash. Let me know in the comments down below, but also let me know what your final draft is looking like. Hopefully you guys are hyped for the upcoming game week. It should be a banger. Let's now talk about my chip strategy. Now the last talking point I just want to go over is going to be my chip strategy because to be honest, I've already spoken about this a lot in preseason, and that's the fact that I don't really have a very defined strategy. The only thing that I think I'm not going to do is use any early chips unless the wildcard does need it. So in a few game weeks time, if the team is really not looking up to scratch, maybe there's a few injuries or some of these new signings are looking like we have to get them, then I don't mind activating the early wildcard, but the current plan is to prolong it as long as possible. Now one big thing with the chips I want to remind you guys about is those 5 free AFCON transfers that we'll be getting in game week 16. So I think most of my chips will be around that period, whether it be a bench boost wildcard combination or using the 5 free transfers to actually bench boost. That's my current plan for the bench boost and the wildcard chip. Now there might be some nice fixture swings. I think game week 7 and game week 13 off the top of my head look pretty good for the wildcard. But obviously there's no certainty of what's going to happen in the upcoming game weeks, so I'm being open-minded. Now with the last 2 chips, that's going to be the Freet plus the triple captain. Both these chips to me are quite reactionary and it's very game state. So whenever a player looks pretty good with a good fixture, that's going to be a triple captain opportunity. Now there might be a few game weeks that you guys have kind of outlined, but who knows what's going to happen before that game week. Are you really going to captain Mo Salah if he scored no goals by game week 14? And then with the Freet, whenever my team isn't looking too great, maybe I have a fixture where a lot of my players play each other, or there could be some injury scares. So it might sound like I don't really have a chip strategy. That could be correct, but I'm just being a little bit more open-minded. And the thing about not bench boosting early is probably ruling out an early wildcard, but you guys can always do that if you want to go aggressive. Always like to be a bit more conservative, have a few more game weeks of information before making the decisions. One can never predict what happens in FPL at the end of the day. But you guys can always let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions about the chips. You can even let me know your chip strategy if you guys do want to expose it. Feel free to do that in the comments down below or my Discord server. But that's going to kind of conclude my first team selection for this FPL 25/26 season. Hopefully I see you guys in the deadline stream coming up at least 1 hour before the deadline on Friday. Make sure that your notifications are turned on as you guys don't want to miss that one. But otherwise, thanks for the support over this preseason. But that's going to basically wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you didn't subscribe if you have subscribed yet. There might be some content still coming up, definitely a deadline stream though. So hopefully I see you guys there, but for the time being, I'm going to be signing off. It's me, Dayvy FPL, and I'm out. Cheers, bye.